Okay, so now this time is your sharing time. Yeah? The floor is open to share your experiences or anything that you think would like to share that you have experienced tonight's practice. Mm-hmm. The silence is the most beautiful things I could ever experience. And this is a very famous one. Every night, week after week, whenever I ask, it is time to share, the floor is open, and everybody just went quiet, thinking that what I should say, oh, what Achan is asking of. I am ignorant of both.
When you start thinking of things, then you end up like, oh, but did that really happen?
And then you go into the conceptual thought process.
Well, I find myself thinking of every other thing except concentrating on one part. What we had for lunch and what had something else and then something else. I realised that my mind was somewhere else. But I had to just stop. It's so hard to get to not let your mind wander.
After Buddha enlightened and he went to teach to the 5 disciples for the first time. And after he taught 5 disciples and they become disciples of him, they convinced what he was saying about, and that was the Four Noble Truths and the path leading to free from this samsara, the cycle of birth and death. After these 5 friends become his disciples, and then a following week another 55 men came to join with the Buddha. And very day when he had 60 disciples, then he gave a task for all of them, saying, go forth, monks, and travel far and wide to spread this message for the benefit of humans and gods. And he also said that do not go 2 persons in the same direction. And so he will also travel to one direction too. Okay, and he also, before he said that mission, he also said, you're all also enlightened as I am, so spread the word. Okay, and after that, all these 60 monks, including the Buddha of 61, the noble ones, traveled far and wide. There was one particular monk whose name was Asaji, one of the youngest in the 5 friends, those who became the first disciples. And he traveled in one of the villages and he was collecting arms for his mourning. And he was walking very mindfully, aware of all the steps that he was walking. And his mind was so fresh, so bright, and so charming. It's like a kind of an aura is just coming out from his whole body. And whoever sees him, like everybody felt, wow, there is some special things there with him. And now there was another man who was in search of the truth. In search of the truth. And he was also a very wealthy man too. And one day he was watching a play with his friend. And while he was watching a play, wisdom arose in him, saying, "Oh, all of us going to die, and we are deluded. We are thinking that this world is so beautiful. In fact, it is not that beautiful." So early on he was so enjoying. The very moment when he had this thought, he stopped. The prominent teacher at that time in that village or in that city. And he was so dedicated and studied, but he wasn't satisfied with that teachings at all. And he wanted to search something else, find out the truth and understanding it. And those days when he was with this teacher, he was practicing, it's called the contemporary meditation. And that is to have the concentrated mind, what you just described. It's very, very difficult to keep our mind in one place. And that was the technique that he was practicing at that time too. But in fact, that was the most advanced teachings available at that time. And everybody went and studied there and studied that techniques and that skills. And with that skill, you could get up to a state that complete silent. And as he said, that you could also speak with other beings, communicate with other beings, whether they are in a hell or in a heavens. And also it is said, once you passed away, then you will be able to reborn in such a state where it is called the Brahma world, and not only the materially existing, physical existence, Brahma, but also non-physical existence. So it's only consciousness exists. That state of the beings, you can reborn. And once you're reborn in those states, what happens is lifespan is so long that you can see a person died from one place, reborn in another place, died from there and reborn in another place, and that continued so many lives. Okay, hundreds of lives, not hundreds of years, hundreds of lives, and this being sees. And as a result of that, that being will have a misconception that I know this man, I have created this. It flourished from the shop to the house in our garden. We planted, it flourished, and we keep the seed, for next year, and then we plant again, and then again flower, keep the seed, and then next year we plant again. And with that going on, a couple of years later, you will say, oh, this is my seed. I have created this seed, and I have created this plant. right? So I know when to plant, I know how to plant, and it will grow. So you become a creator there. That's the same concept this being will take. So that was the practice he was practicing. And Buddha also practiced before he became enlightened. But he wasn't satisfied, as this gentleman too. And with that, come on in. And with that, he wasn't satisfied with it. And on the same day, when the Venerable Assaji was on alms around, going around, he was also baking food too. But the difference in between two, Venerable Assaji, the disciple of the Buddha, was simply walking, rather than saying, "Give me a food." And that wasn't the tradition that the Buddha invented or introduced. So as a monk, you simply hold the bowl and then walk along the street, and the people will ask you to accept the food. And whereas the contemporary practice at that time was speaking out, "Give me your food, and we'll bless you." And it wasn't like only in those days. I have experience too. When I was a young boy in Nepal, and there was a season that ascetics will come to your village, and then he travels house to house, and he will shout. He will shout. Excuse me. He will shout and will say, "Give me a food. If you give me a food, you will be blessed. And if you don't give me a food, you will be punished." Okay? Or the God will punish you. Or God will take you to the hell. Like that. So he will say like this. And then out of a fear, out of a fear that what he is saying may come true, then people will go and give. See the differences. And that was same at that time. The very moment when the Venerable Assaji was walking so peacefully, calmly, and mindfully in his steps, and his face was so bright and illuminated, very charming. Having seen this sight, this gentleman thought, "Wow." Okay, they're both ascetics, but the difference is so that making him feeling it. And then he thought, "Oh, this monk must have something, or must have achieved something." And he was a little bit wiser, so he didn't interrupt a monk while he was doing alms around. And he thought, he just followed. I will follow until he finishes his alms and he eats, and then after that I will ask him a question. So he followed. Okay? He followed until Assaji completed his alms and then went into the site in a little forest woodland, and sat down under the tree, had a lunch, and then after had a lunch, that moment this man thought is the right time to go and speak with him. So he went in and then asked, "Venerable sir, you look very bright and calm and peace. Who is your teacher? What your teacher teaches?" Right? And his answer was, "I am just ordained not long ago. I would not say I know all what my teacher said, what my teacher teaches. But what my teacher teaches is anything that arises through the cause, it is subject to cease. Okay? So basically anything that's conditioned, it is subject to cease. And this is what my teacher teaches. Okay? Now, after you hearing this, what do you feel? Everything that conditioned things arises, right? And that arising subject to cease. So basically it is saying everything is conditioned, arised. Without condition, it doesn't arise. Okay? And this condition that arised, what happens? It ceases. Okay? And that's what the Buddha taught. He said so. Does it make sense?
No. A condition cease, or like I don't quite get the last
Ends.
bit. Ends.
Yeah. Ceases.
Oh, ceases. Oh, right. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Ceases. Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, right.
and that was the teachings of the Buddha.
What happened was, Prajan Sujam, that what was interesting when I was away, that the Ajahn Nehru, he would always speak about the Dharma practice, and it was interesting that all the stories that he spoke about, and when we had our time together, he would test you. He would bring a story up, and about the Buddha or many different things, topics, and he would ask you, I suppose it is like ceasing, starting and ceasing, and what I'm saying is that most of everything he said stuck in the mind, and it was like a concentration thing, that but I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, that in my time there, that they never spoke about anything other than the Dharma. It was just incredible. And what was incredible also was their tremendous faith. Not once did I ever see them not pay respect towards the Buddha, or I never seen anything like it. It was, very, very humble, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, so conditioned.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And for us, it doesn't make any difference. It's just like a knowledge that we acquire, and we're still pursuing on it, isn't it? Yeah, everything is conditioned, I know, and it's going to cease. It doesn't click in our mind, does it? If it does, then we are enlightened. Yeah? But for this man, after hearing it, he got the Dhamma eye. And he thought, wow. So immediately he had the faith towards the Buddha, towards the Dhamma, the teachings, and towards the community, before he saw the Buddha. Okay. And immediately he wanted to go and see the Buddha to become a monk. And later on, this man became the right hand of the Buddha, one who has got similar knowledge as the Buddha, one who could explain the Buddha's teachings as similar to the Buddha. That much tremendous knowledge he developed after that. So that is basically what I'm trying to bring this story, and why I'm bringing it is just to explain what you said. It's very difficult to concentrate on one object, and practice of meditation is not that. Okay? Not that. If practice of meditation is to concentrate on one object and try to be with one object for a long time, this man, before he meets the Venerable Asaji, and then going to the Buddha, he could have been an arhat or enlightened, liberated man. But he didn't. although he was perfected in that technique of keeping his mind concentrated. So Buddha's advice is not just that concentration. It is important, but not that it is.
I found with Zen meditation where you practice concentration, you concentrate on a point below the navel, but at the same time you watch what arises as you concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep your concentration, you watch what arises, and you watch with acceptance, knowing that it is empty and temporary. So it feels like concentration and mindfulness can go together.
It goes together, not
Yes.
can go. It goes together. It goes together, but it is not just that. Right? It is not just that concentration. We have to see beyond that. But concentration is very, very important to keep our mind into one focused state, because our mind is always wandering off, here and there, all the time. Yeah? So, concentration helps us to keep our mind focused in one place. And once we know that our mind is so focused and ability to come back at any time, any length of time, ability to be here and now with this object, opening the senses, knowing things as they arise, understanding as they arise, rather than whatever comes and we are having any objections or comments or commentaries on it. Just knowing it and dissolves, knowing and dissolves.
I found during practice last hour that whenever I would think of anything, any thought would come by, it would be accompanied with emotions, with, well, it's hard to say if it's emotions because you feel either a warmth or a cold or anything, we call that emotion, but and notice that when I take that thought and realize, yeah, but it comes from somewhere, as a cause in either this experience or that experience, this emotion accompanying it would change. And whenever I would look at this thought and say, well, it has arisen just a few seconds ago, or I've been playing with it for now 10 seconds, 15 seconds, at some point this will stop as well.
Yeah.
And then again, this emotion that I feel accompanying this thought changes again. And so this changes the whole time through.
Yes.
And it clicked a little bit when you just said that everything that has a cause ceases as well. Because with everything that accompanies these thoughts, whether they are blissful sensations or whether they are negative sensations, they both are both forms of attachment, of suffering. And it's very funny to watch these change the whole time through, and then
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's the way we are practicing.
See,
That's the
like
technique. Yeah.
vibrations. Vibrations. Similar to vibrations.
Yeah. It comes and goes. It comes and goes. That's why the practice of meditation is to understand this. Arises, remains, and vanishes. Arises, remains, and vanishes. And normally what happens is, arising, we do not see it. When it remains, we grasp. We hold on to it. And then that's how we caught up into the cycle of this thought process, or telling of stories, or whatever you create on that. Alright? But very moment when we know it, it just vanishes, ceases, right? And ceases. And that's, we have to understand that one. And as we understand it, later on, what we will be able to see is one who is knowing it an object that we are observing is a two different things. It's become a two. Okay? We will be able to see two different things at the same time. Okay? And how it causes and conditions. And how much we are conditioned by ourselves, or something else conditioning it. We're thinking something is conditioning it, but in fact we are conditioning ourselves. Okay? And simply not knowing it, we go into the circle of thought process, creating new cycle. Okay? So practice of meditation, that's why if we are just thinking of a concentration, then we will not be able to see that arising and vanishing. Concentration is simply be with one object strongly. It's like you're holding something very tightly. Let's say this is your mind and you're holding a small thing in your pouch, completely covered, nothing you can see. So like that. An object, your mind is completely grasped and being with it, not letting it go, or any chance to able to see through, like that. So that's the concentration, completely joined in. And with that, we can have so many other benefits too. Doesn't mean it hasn't got any benefit. It has. But only matter is, it will not help us to understand things as they truly are. You know? It is like only when we are meditating, we're completely peace. But what about after we release? We meditate in how many hours in a day? 24 hours we have a day. How many hours we meditate? So,
It depends how long we're conscious.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, like that. So that's why, we need to know what's happening, everything as it is, and aware of it, mindful of it, and then letting it be. So, being a noble person. And then I think last week I defined this noble into different forms. A noble, N for knowing, N for noticing. Noticing as it happens, as it is taking place. Observing as it is happening. N-O. Observing. Truly, without any comments, without any commentaries. Okay? Without your putting any colors into it. Observing as it is. So be mindful of it. N-O-B. Yeah, be mindful, or just be. Let it be. Yeah, later on, let it be. Do not interfere with it. Let it be as it is. Yeah, no comments, nothing. As you see, as it is. Let it be. As you hear, let it be. Yeah. And the end E, you can either be translate it into I am enlightened. So enlightenment, or in a worldly world, enjoying the moment. So noble, a noble person. Yeah, being a noble man. Just using a noble. So that's it. And with the practice, you will be noble by yourself. Understanding things as they truly are. Okay? And it's not just it is not a simple path. It's very long way, a long path. But that doesn't mean we should be discouraged too. We never know how many perfections that we have perfected. Who knows that at the corner, it is waiting for us to be enlightened. So we have to pursue and work. Although we are not working hard, like 20 hours a day or 18 hours a day, at least we are pursuing and doing little by little, little by little. It's like a saving in your ISA bank. Little by little. At the end of the day, you have a big pocket to use it when you are little old. So you can feel safe. So that's the same thing with the practice. Every little practice is count. Buddha said that the elephant moves his this ear for one time, right? Like this, one time. If you are mindful of this short time, it's quite good enough. It already bears a fruit. Okay, and think about it. If we can be mindful throughout, how much benefit it will be. Okay? So that's why, although we are doing little, still we need to pursue. Who knows? Some days or one day our perfection fulfills and we become enlightened. So we shouldn't be discouraged. Pursuing, continuing, practicing. As long as we are walking in the right path, do not think about the destination. You will be there. Only matter is start walking. Doesn't matter how fast you walk. Whether you are making a small walk, small pace, or you are running, end of the day you will arrive because you are walking on the right path. So just checking again and again, and you will find. Okay? So I think that's the reflection for today. Huh? Okay, so let's do the loving kindness meditation then. Okay? Unless anybody wants to add on. Matthew, would you like to lead us?
Sure.
Okay.
Sit comfortably, either on the floor or wherever you're sat on your seat. Be aware of your body presence as you're sat down now. Be aware of how you're feeling in your body right now. And reflect on everything we've been discussing and listening to just now, and anything you want to take away with you. And now wish for yourself that you're well and happy. You can say to yourself in your mind, may I be free from all anger, hatred,
ill will, animosity and jealousy. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be liberated, liberated, liberated. And now bring to mind your parents and teachers, whether they're with us or far away. May they be free from all anger, hatred, ill will, animosity and jealousy. May they be happy. May they be peaceful. May they be liberated, liberated, liberated. Begin to expand this loving kindness further. Bring to mind all those you love, all those you care for, near and dear ones. May they all be free from anger, hatred, ill will, animosity and jealousy. May they be happy, be peaceful, be liberated, liberated, liberated. And now expand this goodwill outwards to include also any person or any beings you have difficulty with in your life. Begin to share loving kindness with them as well. May they be free from all anger, hatred, ill will, animosity and jealousy. May they be happy. May they be peaceful. May they be liberated, liberated, liberated. May all beings in the entire world, in the entire universe, share in my merits, share in my peace, share in my harmony. May they come out of all their sufferings. If they are in suffering, may they gain well-being and happiness. If they are well, may their well-being and happiness increase. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be liberated, liberated, liberated. Now bring your attention to your hands. Feel the sensation in your hands. And as you hear the gong, slowly and gently come out of meditation. ฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนัมมามิ
Okay. Thank you. Matthew, you haven't tested the sweet.